Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you join this conversation. And I recognize, there's lots of stuff going on in your world. The fact that you continue to choose me and our team to help just navigate where we're at and where we're going. So, this particular session is dedicated to leading through uncertainty, finding some clarity in the gap between here and there. This has been a topic I've talked about for a long time. In the leadership training that we do, I love to say that leaders today are going to have to be clear on where they're going, but flexible in how they get there. Today, leaders are going to have to make and remake organizations. And yet, right, that clarity piece, we want it, we need it, and yet where we're going is not necessarily mapped out. We're finding more and more opportunity that we just don't know the answer, but need to lead anyways. And while that has been a theme throughout my entire career, I want to share with you some of the work we're doing on it on this team and what we can help support you with. Hopefully today, with some ideas, some insights, some practical steps for you to take away, and then just invite a continued conversation if there's any other way we can support you on this. So, our team continues to provide in person training, live virtual training, and our on demand system allows most often what we find is that you promote somebody into a new role. We don't quite have a class for them. Maybe you're just not prepared to send them somewhere, or you don't have a training lined up in house. They get me on video, they can chat with me, I can encourage them, but they get a great package of about 8 hours of training to get them to that next spot. So we have packages beyond 8 hours, but think about how often we promote someone and say, here, lead people. And yet they were really good at what they did. We just need to give them some support because that lead people part is different. So we're excited to be able to continue to support leadership growth and development. I love the strategy behind how we grow people into different pathways, whether it's people leaders, technical leaders, project leaders, leading through your expertise. And this is the part of the team that helps me still do that every single day, no matter where I'm showing up. We're also super excited to offer something that has just been, see, I'm out of words. Amazingly special. We decided to embark on our own national study. So, in partnership with Dr. Mel Goneman, who is a faculty member at Wartburg College here in Iowa, we have launched what we're calling the Uncertainty Initiative, and it includes, among other things that are coming, a national survey about how we navigate through uncertainty. Personal lives, professional lives, there's so many different layers to this. So you'll have access to that QR code. Our website has it, www.drcelinapyramid.com. You can go /survey or /uncertainty initiative and learn more about what we're up to. We want to be able to make a better impact. And this is just one of the ways we have found that we can serve others by framing some conversations about what to do when we don't know what to do next. And your voice matters in that. So through June 14th of 2026, anyone you can share this with that fits the criteria of over 18 and living in the United States, we welcome their participation. There's a spot on there after you complete the survey to sign up for focus groups and interviews. The response has been amazing already. And we just hope that with your help, we're going to be able to share some things back later this summer and early fall. All right. So we have a new series also coming out on my podcast that has been longstanding since late 2020, early 2021. It is an 8-episode sprint on uncertainty. So if you're a podcast listener, there's no commercials on my podcast. It's just simply way for me to share some ideas with you. So watch for that as well. For our time together, 2 guiding questions. Number 1, how does understanding uncertainty help us increase our stability? God, those are 2 opposite ideas, uncertainty and stability, and yet they work in partnership. And secondly, what can we do to raise our awareness and skill set to be more intentional about how we think about uncertainty? Let's take those 2 on. I'd like to point out that you can have uncertainty and still have clarity about what matters most. If you've participated in different offerings that we've had, or you've had me on site, one of the phrases I love to use is, even during times of change, there are things that have not changed. And so let's adapt that to an uncertainty model. Like, I can be uncertain about what the next step is, but I can be clear on what our purpose is. They are not canceling each other out. You can have both. And that's a fairly, or could be a fairly weighty carry, but just to consider that for today. I may not know what that technology is going to do to change our business. I may not know what that customer mix looks like, or how that shift in demographics with who we serve is going to impact our process in the future, but I can still be clear about our purpose, clear about our value set, clear about how we want to be able to serve people, produce what we produce, do what we need to do. So maybe today that's just something you needed, just a little bit of something to think about what matters most. There are some things that we think about in leading ourselves through uncertainty, like what uncertainty does to our brains. When we aren't sure, stress levels tend to go up. We jump to assumptions because we don't know what else to do. So we fill in the blank. We worry. Do I have any worriers? Do I have any overthinkers watching this today? All right. Email me later. Text me. Call me. I get it. And so there is this condition that sits there. One of the ways I explain that within companies is when people don't know, they make it up. When people don't know, they make it up. So we know that there's a level of physiologically driven response there that weaves together our physical health and our mental health during times of uncertainty. There's lots of ways that has been studied over the years. I think, though, what doesn't change even when times are uncertain are something we need to continue to focus on. So finding what I'm calling anchors, routines, purpose, each other. I may be really unclear about the set of circumstances, but I can count on you. Small actions that create stability in the workplace then become that much more important. We may not be able to fill in all the blanks or know with some additional certainty about how something is going to turn out. But let's keep in mind as we go through this material that there are small actions every day that help create stability, even when there are unknowns. So remember, right, you can have that uncertainty, still have clarity about what matters most. And when we recognize these items, right, we can then make the choice to lead ourselves through that uncertainty. So we did in this conversation some polling from people who were participating. And I want to share that with you here as we are merging some recordings together. And that's because we had some technical challenges. So we'll just let that go. But I want to share with you these polling responses that came in during the live portion of this webinar. What words or phrase come to mind when you feel uncertain? So as you check out that list, right? Angst, short fuse, nervous, stress, questions, alone, nausea, helplessness, confusion, uneasy, assumptions, worry, chaos, self-doubt, confused. Our biggest ones, stress, anxiety, and fear. So we know that this comes with a heavy load. We know that when we don't feel certain about something, and when we want to do a good job, when we want to be a good human, when we want to be a good partner or supporter, and we don't know how, right? That gets harder because we're like, I want to do something. I want to be known for something good. I want to be helpful. Yet not knowing can cause a whole lot of tough stuff on here. Let's look at another one. What is something that increases your level in a certainty, in a level of certainty in a situation that is unknown? So if you're watching this and you want to take a picture of this, we're going to turn this into a set of reminders for you. But asking questions, talking about with others. I don't know about you, but I can make a lot of stuff up in my head. It's not usually on point. Facts, you right? Verbal processing, task list, meditation, ponder, reassurance from a friend, list what I know. I love that practice. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. Now, Xanax is on here. Let's just note it, right? Mental health is really important. And so there are many ways that we may need help through something. So I will always encourage you to talk to a mental health professional, even just your family doctor, if you're not sure what to do next. There are all sorts of ways we have to navigate certain things that come up in our life. So let's take a few moments here to dig into uncertainty a little bit more. Understanding uncertainty to me is really the space between here and there. It's where information is incomplete, outcomes are not fully known, and leadership still has to happen. Uncertainty is not indecision. We can still make decisions even when we're uncertain. It's not incompetence. We can be very competent at what we do and still be uncertain. It's not a lack of leadership, because now it could come from ineffective leadership, but it's not necessarily connected. Just because there's a lack of leadership may not be because it's uncertain or uncertainty, right? We may have good leadership. They just don't know right now. What we do understand from the research, it's a normal condition of growth, change, and ownership. Yet, here's what I see in practice out with companies every single day. Uncertainty can trigger over control, silence, and retreating to, well, that's how we've always done it. So we're just stay with that because that's what we know. Over control, that's when micromanagement goes up. Because if I'm nervous or I'm afraid that I don't know how this is going to go, I'm going to clamp down or find control where I can find control. That's a risk. Not everybody does it, but it is a risk I see. I see insecurity breed micromanagement. And think about that, right? That's a time where we need to welcome ideas, not shrink them. And that's where silence comes in, because if I don't know what to say, then I'm just going to stay quiet. And that's not going to get us where we need to either. There's always things, though, that do not change. Employees still need safety, direction, consistency. Customers, whoever that is you serve, patients, students, clients still rely on us. And no doubt, right? Organizations need our roles to be able to do and deliver what they're committed to. So our roles still matter deeply in that. But there are things that do not change even during times of uncertainty. Our roles, our customers, and our employees still have expectations and things that we need to be able to deliver on. So let's talk about those anchors a little bit more. So anchors are things that I can hold on to when things feel uncertain. So those could be personal anchors. Why people on your team, why they do this work. So that could be faith-based, family-based. Of course, we're working to be able to earn a living, to take care of our responsibilities. But there's personal anchors that come with that. Maybe it's somebody you really just love working with. Maybe it's a particular type of work that you just love and it feeds you in a way. Those are all different types of personal anchors. Team anchors, this is the cadence around just even routine. What can we expect from each other? How will we communicate with each other and how we get the work done? How we support. each other as well. And either of those, personal or team anchors, can really come out of what I'm calling simple daily stabilizers. That could include a routine, something that just feels good to you as you start your day. That could be connections throughout the shift or the day when you're working, which just help ground you a bit. It could be certain places you walk, people you talk to, ways that you respond in situations. I do like the routines of we need to actually have more effective meetings, just shorter ones, so that we can touch base, go back out and do, touch base, go back out and do. All different kinds of daily stabilizers. And as you watch our work in this, we're going to have a whole lot more materials for you on that. This, to some, may sound a little further out there, but I find it to be fundamentally true for us in this day and space about how we show up for each other and work. I really want us to ask the question, what's mine to hold? There are so many days where I am feeling overwhelmed by the uncertainty. And then I have to recognize, like, that's not mine to figure out. I need to do what I can do. So certainly we've talked circles of control where we influence. But in times like this, where uncertainty is higher, our brain grabs onto everything. The risk is it grabs onto every question, every unknown, every what if, but not everything is ours to carry. Consider what you might be carrying now during a situation of uncertainty, and what might you need to set down for now because it's just not something that needs your strength or your energy. Now, of course, there are responsibilities within teams and companies that we may not be able to set something down in our personal lives. There are things we can't always set down. But maybe today that could be helpful for you in just recognizing what's yours to hold. So I mentioned the circles of influence or what's in my control, outside of my control. Let's reinforce those ideas just for a few more moments here. How I show up today, how I speak to whoever you're talking to, customers, students, patients, clients, how I support people around me, if that's in your personal life or your professional life, my attitude and my effort, the things I choose in how I approach different types of my work and my day. I do think following routines and creating consistency are an important part of dealing with uncertainty. Even in my world where I love breaking up routines and lots of inconsistency, I still have things that ground me. And asking questions when I need clarity is one of the biggest boosts that help me feel like, okay, I know that. Here's my next action. Of course, within our control, there are going to be things that fit in some situations and not every situation. And while that may be a concept you've been very familiar with, I find that it's especially important right now during uncertain times. Let me share with you a model we're working on as part of the research coming out of the Uncertainty Initiative, and one that I'm using within leadership and professional development training out with companies every day. Number one, G comes from the word gap, ground the reality. Name what is known and unknown, and I love to say it out loud. What do we know? What do we not know? Because in uncertain times where we don't know what's happening with a customer or a program or funding, or maybe whatever is shifting in your day, what do I know? What do I not know? And avoid false certainty. There are errors that happen in our brain that we get overconfident about what we know. And so this is one way to name what we know, to talk it out with other people so that we can break down or avoid those moments where I'm sure that, well, that's what's going to happen. How do we know that? Based on what? Is a great way to start breaking down some of those errors that can happen and ground the reality. Number two, activate, own it thinking. What can we test right now? Where do we already see solutions? Like, once we know what we know, we can then say, right, what is it we can do with that? Because then again, we got to prioritize what goes next. Prioritizing forward motion becomes really important because out of all the things you could do right now, what's your next most important step? Small pilots are so much better than perfect plans. So small pilots would be we try something out in a little bit of space, we learn from it, we redeploy. Some of you will be familiar with quality methodologies like plan, do, check, act, plan, do, study, act, based on the idea that we identify something, we implement it, but we do it in a way that's controlled so we can learn from it, redeploy even bigger. There will never be a perfect plan. I was meeting with a manager some time ago and he said, I can't give them a plan. By the time I give them a plan, it changes. But if you don't give them a plan, they don't have anything to hold on to. There will be no perfect plans. Now, found pilots are not lost air people, right? Found pilots are what have we already tested out in our team and our organization that we could learn from? Maybe we haven't done it exactly this way, but could we find some lessons learned that already exist out there that could help us build? Think about this as your own internal library. We need the learning environment where people can test things out and learn from them, but we need to find a way to capture some of that learning. There is something so interesting to me in human psychology around movement and progress restores confidence. Once I take that next step, once I choose that next thing and I do it, there's something innately built in us of that movement and progress. And I feel like, oh, okay, got that figured out. Maybe it was just that little bit of step, but when the rest feels uncertain, we need all the confidence boost we can get. I see it all the time, and I'm seeing this show up in conversations with some of our top leaders where we spend too much time on what we can't control, so we feel overwhelmed. But when we come back to what we can control, we feel way more grounded. Confidence is not inherent to leadership growth. I'm having conversations with frontline leaders and the senior, most experienced leaders. And while they do have more confidence that comes with that growth and experience because of that knowledge base, everybody's got some doubts. Everybody has moments where they're not feeling as confident. And remember that there are different types of confidence. I can feel confident about certain types of decisions, but not other types of decisions. I could feel more uncertain about those. I could feel more confident in this kind of situation and less confident in that type of situation. Confidence is not universal. Confidence comes directly when we feel like there is something we can do about the circumstances around us. There is another way that I've been using this within training and development of naming three. So this is part of a clarity message technique. What we know, what we're still figuring out, how can we engage right now? You can use those in a staff meeting, an all hands meeting. You can just talk those through for yourself in a situation where you need them, but name three, what we know, what we're still figuring out, and what's our next step, or how can we engage now? That would be one way to immediately use this investment of time with you hanging out with me in your next conversation to bring some clarity around something that may feel still very uncertain. I do think it's worth noting and how we show up for each other to avoid the rumor cycles. I always say, I've said it for 20 plus years. When I'm in a company and I say, hey, do you have a rumor mill here, a grapevine here? And everyone laughs and says, oh, yes. I'm like, good. I'm going to work for the first company I find that doesn't have one. Humans create these. It's not going to happen. But the rumor cycle, the grapevine, we got to get ahead of that. How we show up to that, don't participate in those rumor cycles. That just magnifies uncertainty in different ways. There's a difference between supporting and spiraling. There are times spiraling, sometimes I call it spinning in my head, like I'm just stuck. And again, how we show up for each other, even when we don't know, I can support you. but I don't want us to spiral to a point where now we're bringing each other down. And at the end of the day, our customers, our clients, our patients, our students, whoever that is you're serving, doesn't care who didn't get it done. They just want to know we delivered on what we promised. So a team of teams mindset is so important, that we're in this together. And what would happen if we believed that we can figure this out? There are just moments of habits, of steps that we can take to recalibrate. I love the word recalibration. They're small shifts, right? They're adjustments we make on dials of sound, on instrumentation, where we recalibrate something to align. Leadership can change. Your impact doesn't. Employees don't need perfection. They need presence. In uncertain moments, we are the environment. We create what that feels like. And you don't have to have all the answers to be steady. Focus on what you can, set aside what you can't, and be the leader, be the professional, be the person, supporter, and teammate that we need from each other. When things feel uncertain, come back to this question: what is mine to hold today? And there are just moments where you can let that be enough. Again, please stay tuned for what we have on the Uncertainty Initiative coming forward. We will have initial results out late summer, early fall, and are excited to share with that. If you would like an email that you can share with others in your organization, that's the stage we're at now. We've had fantastic response, and we're so excited for that. What we need now is the snowball effect, where you can share it with a couple of other people. They can take it, because what that does is we need participants covering lots of different demographics and types of companies. There's so many aspects that would just make this data richer. So if you could please share that. If you got an email from us already, if you already deleted it, ask us for another one. It's okay. This is credentialed as an academic research project, which means no spam, no sales. Like, we want to see your voice in this and use that data to continue the conversation. I can't wait to see what we do next together. Take care, be well, and stay in touch.